Hello everybody, this is Killer in the Loser channel, and I'm going to go through some comments left on the channel. Most of them are to do with dating, a couple of them were directed at me and I was meaning to do a response on them. So let's dive into it. If you don't know who I am, I'm Cameron. I'm Andy's co-coach in his coaching program. Let's jump into the questions straight away. The first guy was asking me directly about thoughts with dealing with aggressive guys and boyfriends coming out of nowhere while cold approaching. He almost got sucker punched, which is, unfortunate, from the side while doing day game, but the girl was alone, so he didn't know. This is something I guess you always have to just be slightly aware of in terms of general, it's a kind of part of general social awareness, I guess, when you're out trying to talk to girls. Some of the times these girls are not single and there are guys, floating around. I've actually approached a girl when her boyfriend was standing right next to her, but we were in a stationery store and she was looking, I think, at a magazine, and her boyfriend was looking, was sort of in the aisle of the store, but somewhere around the corner of the aisle. So they were close to each other, but he was almost out of sight. And so I only saw her and approached her thinking that she was on her own. And the boyfriend immediately just walked in and she was but she was laughing about it. So, and I guess my energy wasn't one of I don't know, I'm not very hyper aggressive. Some guys, when they do cold approaches, they go in really hard. I tend to be, and Andy as well, we tend to be quite polite with the way we start. And I think the boyfriend understood that it was just me thinking she was single or whatever, and he was understanding. It seems like in this situation with the comment, the guy was, not understanding, which is an unfortunate, roll of the dice. Sometimes you're going to get unlucky. I think that's what we all have to recognize about, just in life in general. Sometimes situations get out of hand quickly, and a lot of your social, it's a social skill to be able to de-escalate situations, because there's nothing you can really do in this situation other than de-escalate. What are you going to do? Punch him back, start a fight in broad daylight? I don't think that's a very smart decision, personally. So I would always just immediately try and de-escalate the situation. I'm assuming this guy isn't going to try and then continue to game this girl in an attempt to get her away from her boyfriend while the boyfriend is there. I 100% assume that that's not going to happen. I've never had an issue with de-escalation, so maybe I'm not the best person to ask. I'm not one of those people who always gets causes guys to be aggressive. Typically, if you back down and be I apologize, whatever, you don't even have to apologize. Be sorry, I didn't know she was. That's it. I did it then. That's very British of me to be I'm sorry. But if you just be hey, I didn't know she wasn't single. I didn't see you there. This is a misunderstanding. I wouldn't approach a girl if I knew she had a boyfriend, which I personally wouldn't. That's my ethical stance on it. That's Andy's ethical stance on it. Yeah, it's just about de-escalating and just explaining the situation to the guy. If he's super aggressive, I would literally just walk away. Just leave. There's no reason if you're trying to explain to someone that you're not trying to be a dick and they're not accepting your explanation, get the fuck away from the situation. Just leave, because if the person's being unreasonable after you've explained yourself, there's no reason to stick around and keep explaining yourself. You haven't done anything legally wrong or whatever to talk to a girl and ask her out, or say she's cute, ask for her number. Her having a boyfriend doesn't make that a bad thing. You just didn't know the boyfriend existed. And so he doesn't, it's almost irrational for them to get super pissed after you've explained yourself. If you're trying to explain yourself, I think you can just walk away immediately. I wouldn't judge a guy if their first reaction to the situation is just to turn tail and walk the other direction. Fair enough. You're new to this stuff. Maybe you don't trust yourself to handle the situation very well. So you just do the first thing you can think of, which is just walk the fuck away. Sometimes that's the best move, especially if you're more inexperienced with this stuff. Okay. So that's what I would say, de-escalation, explain the situation, or just walk away. Whatever you do, don't start swinging back. I think that's probably the worst thing you could do. Are there any guys out there who are who watch Andy's channel who, when they find out a girl has a boyfriend like this, they try and play some other form of game where they've got I don't know, lines or something they say in an attempt to win the girl over despite her boyfriend being there? There's no doubt someone out there who has suggested that you can do this. This is quite a big one. It was on my video about ethical non-monogamy, which I did quite a while ago. And they're saying if someone has accepted a non-monogamous relationship at first, but eventually she starts repeatedly asking for monogamy, and you keep declining, and you can tell she's accepting reluctantly and keeps seeing you, like if you are aware that it's really bothering her, would you break it off? Do you want to be with someone who's not fully happy with the arrangement? And he also has a follow up as well. He's talking about how, like, if you break it off in these situations, you're never going to be able to get like a deep non-monogamous relationship, because I think it's the insinuation here, I guess, is almost that all women are not okay with it eventually. Like every woman is going to ask you for monogamy eventually, yeah. And so he also says, if you don't break off the relationship in these situations, how do you deal with the tension? Okay, so I haven't been amazing at handling this my entire like dating life, because I only started doing open ethical non-monogamy last 2 years, I would say. I didn't even know what the phrase was when I first started. Sort of just everything was casual. I mean, when I first started working with Andy, all of my dating relationships were just like pure casual. Part of that is because I'm very nomadic as a person, and I have been the entire second half of my 20s. I'm almost 31 now. I've just been jumping countries, like jumping between different working visas in different countries. And part of that is that you have to, like, a lot of girls are quite static. Like, there are girls who travel, but a lot of the girls I date have been locals in the areas that I've lived in, and I haven't been living in them long term. So a lot of these relationships are like, hey, I really like you, I really like dating you, but I am leaving the country in these 6 months to a year. So that's always been like an underlying part of especially the first few years that I did this. And I look back on that not with much pride. Like, I don't feel that it wasn't, I feel like it was almost a coward's way out in a couple of situations where I was like, hey, I know this isn't going to last long, so we can just have fun. But now I'd be like, no, I want to say the full truth, which is I want to see you and I want to be non-monogamous and see other girls as well. So that's why it can't be monogamous. That's why it can't be like completely monogamous. And so in the situation, get back to the situation, I say I haven't always been great with this. I've definitely left a few things go on where the girl wasn't super like maybe like 75% on board, but then she would have moments where it like really bothered her. And in those situations, it's all about like being good at talking to the girl and like expressing like how much you feel, like how much you care about her, and like being really open and honest and vulnerable about it. Like telling them like, I'm worried. Like, you can literally say to the girls, like, I am worried that this is bothering you to a point where you are not enjoying this relationship. Like, go super fucking deep and open about it. Like, you don't want to like leave anything on the table. I remember recently, I had a breakup recently. Like, I broke it off with a girl I've been seeing for a year. And like, I think I told her at the beginning of the breakup call, I was like, hi, I've been thinking about breaking this off, but I want to include you in the conversation rather than just having this conversation on my own. Like, that's how open I want to get with girls. Like, I want to and only with girls that I know are interested in having that open conversation. Like, there's also an argument about like just dumping honesty on a girl when it's early on, and she isn't open, like she doesn't want it. So like, yeah, you got to screen in girls that want that level of open, honest communication. Those are the only girls that I'm interested in dating now. Andy is interested in dating girls who are just like really easy to be honest with and are looking for that level of honesty back. But yeah, back to the point. Had a couple of awkward, I guess, difficult conversations about this. Had a couple of things end pretty early because the girl was just honest about not wanting non-monogamy. My answer to this question is, if she tells me it's a problem and it won't, I do sometimes leave it to her, because it's like, if it's a problem that she can't get over and it's repeatedly coming up, I will say to her, like, should we just end this here? It's really it's like gauging how much of an issue it is and how often it's coming up, and how much she, like, if she goes on about it a lot or she brings it up a lot, it's clearly an issue. Like, it's clearly dominating and overshadowing the overall of the relationship and how good it is. Because relationships aren't perfect. Like, no one out there is really having a perfect relationship. Monogamy doesn't make relationships perfect. You know what I mean? There's still issues. There's still stuff that's unsaid. And it's about gauging, how much of an issue it is, and whether or not it's turning into a deal breaker. Like, where things become deal breakers, like, is they've reached a point where, like, one party can no longer handle the situation, whatever it is. So that's gauging that. It's become about experience and open conversations. There's no, like, I don't think there's lots of simple rules that you can make. Like, if she complains about the non-monogamy 4 times in 2 weeks, that's automatically crossed into, you know what I mean? It's dumb in my opinion to some extent to try and turn these things into like really hard rule sets. So it's more about having these conversations with the girls. He says as well, how do you deal with the tension? I think I've already answered that as well. That's like that's just, I mean, talking about the tension. Like the problem with tension is more that you don't address it. Like tension stays there until you address it. And once you address tension, it relieves. That's how I think Andy ends any tension in his threesome situations. He just like openly says something autistically. And it just like makes everyone more relaxed. Like, oh my God, it's really awkward in here. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff like removes tension. Same thing with relationships. You just talk to them and you like acknowledge tension. And even if it's like you're not sure if she's feeling it, you can still express that you're feeling it. So if you're feeling away, like you're feeling uncomfortable about something, you're feeling, and you don't know if she is, you can just frame it in like, I am feeling uncomfortable about this because I think you may be feeling this. Are you? And that starts the conversation. It's really easy. If you just speak everything out loud, like to her face, that's like to say it, get her in front of you and speak the things out loud that you want to talk about. And yeah, if she doesn't want to talk about it, she may not be suitable for these relationships. These style of relationships kind of require a decent amount of openness. Like some of them, like there's actually kind of two kinds. Like sometimes I've dated a couple of girls where they were fine with like us being casual and us being like in an open, like just dating whoever we wanted, but they would never want to talk about it. So it was like, it's either we want to talk about everything or they don't want to talk about anything. And it's just super casual. I've had a few relationships with girls and I don't think anyone should throw out the idea of just having casual dating. Like he says, limiting yourself to more casual dating. Yeah, like casual dating has its place. Like it's a mood sometimes, you know, it's something sometimes we're just into casual dating and go through a phase where like, I don't want to see anyone past a certain point of seriousness. You just want to do it casually for a while. Nothing wrong with that at all. The degrees of openness and honesty you have with more casual, I would say I've had some casual partners where it's been like the most honest conversations. And I said some casual partners where we don't talk about anything deep at all. And that's kind of weird for me. That almost like turns me off ever like upgrading that relationship ever if they're just not interested in like opening up and talking about other stuff. And maybe I see less of those girls now, to be honest. It's like a decision I've made. Hopefully I answered it to some degree. I think I disagree with what you said about limiting yourself, but I do get your concerns. Like I hope I didn't minimize any of your concerns here. Like I understand where you're coming from. I just have been able to experience situations where this doesn't track as much as you think it does in terms of women automatically wanting monogamy. Like I think you will end up in relationships where girls are like not pretending, but like they realize a few months down the line they're less okay with it than they thought they were. And yeah, that happens. And it can be tough to end it there, but I probably would, to answer the original question. Hope that wasn't too rambly, that answer. Maybe it was. Or maybe I'm being too harsh on myself. Final question for this video. We're going to talk about age rejections. And we've dealt with this before with other people in the coaching group. Andy's a bit older too, so he gets this. This guy says the worst rejections he gets by far are because of age. First time a girl said that he was too old for her, he had a panic attack. Damn, feel sorry for you, man. I've had a panic attack on a bus before. That wasn't good. Ever since that happened, every time I approach a girl, I'm afraid she's going to ask for my age. I still don't know how to handle that. 28 to 22 is wild, but like, I get it. Like, I'm not, you know, girl, everyone has their preferences, and like, I don't want to judge anyone for their preferences, but I would be shocked if someone at 22-ish would be like 28's too old. I've dated girls who are 21, 22, my age. I have like a problem going younger than that because I don't know. Maybe I've got stories that I tell myself about these girls where I'm like, I won't get along with them. I won't vibe with them very well. Like I tend to vibe easier with like girls who are like mid-20s, like closer to my age. So, but I've never had an age rejection when I was 28. I can't remember one anyway. I've had age rejections when I hit like now, like 31. The answer is pretty basic here because Andy and I have pushed the same thing, which is numbers game and screening. And we also talk about Mark Manson's thing, which is like fuck yes or no girls quite a lot because we're looking for more. We want our dating lives to be easy. And the easiest way to get, in terms of like ease of dating, like going on dates or getting numbers from girls who are really into you is going to make a much more enjoyable dating life, because you're not going to have to. It's not that you're not going to have to try as hard. I know that's a weird thing to say, but I mean as in like the dates will flow better. You'll get laid with more of these girls. You'll retain more of these girls. Being able to play the numbers game until you find fuck yes girls is like, it's such a beautiful, positive way of approaching it. And I mean, both of us have tried like the other approach, you know, of just like trying to figure out. I did game for a couple of years, trying to figure out how to like turn maybe girls around and girls that you don't think are attracted to you and make them attracted to you. And like, I'm not saying it's like dubious or whatever. The claims of the people who do that stuff is true or not. I'm just saying that the way Andy and I do it, the way we found of just focusing on girls that are fuck yes to us, is more enjoyable. It's just the way we like to approach dating now is looking for those girls. And within that framework, we're kind of grateful when a girl straight up tells us a reject, like a what do you call it? A deal breaker. So if a girl immediately in the first 3 minutes of interaction with us tells us she's not interested and why, it's a good thing for us. Like, it's framed as rejection in that way, and especially getting the reason, like, and not having sunk any more time into that girl is framed as a good thing in our minds. And now it doesn't mean that we don't have like approach anxiety or anxiety towards dating stuff. Like, that always happens. You still feel a bit anxious down the line when you're dating a girl and you haven't slept with her yet, or you haven't, you want to retain a girl and she hasn't responded to you. You still get that. But like, when it comes to like the first few like encounters and approach and stuff like that, typically we can reframe these rejections as a good thing because it saved you time and energy on someone. Like, what you don't want her to do is give you a number, go on a date with you, and then after that date tell you that you're too old for her. Like, hey, I was on the fence about your age, but I decided it's too much. And at that point, you've gone out on a date with her. You've probably like got all excited about her. And then the next morning or the next couple of days or whatever, she's either ghosted you or sent you that message. And that feels worse. Like, that feels way worse typically than going up and having this thing. I think the reason maybe the panic attack and like why this is bothering you is because it's, I guess, preventing you from going up to like 22-year-old girls or whatever, or you think they're all going to reject you. And that's like extrapolating out. Like, I think taking a rejection, I would criticize the thought process of someone who got rejected for one thing by this girl, and then you extrapolate that to all girls who are like her or whatever. If she fits like a certain like archetype or whatever of a girl, and you've now extrapolated her rejection to all of them, I would be skeptical that you're right. And I would tell you to go and get data. Like, one girl is not enough. If you go out and approach another 50 22-year-old girls and this comes up like half the time, then yeah, I would be fine. I'd be like, okay, fair enough. You're living in an area where it's really like, it's actually quite hard. But even then, you still have a decent amount of success. And you won't get like 50% of the girls saying no because of your age. You're probably just because they've got boyfriends or they're just not attracted to you physically or whatever. There's other reasons like sexual availability, tons of reasons why girls can reject that aren't necessarily your age. But things we become insecure about become the reason that every girl rejects us, in our minds. So it's a horrible trick of the mind that your insecurities become like the defining thing about why, like, when things aren't going well. And then when things do go well, I don't know, those, like, they go into the background and then they come back out again when things start going badly. Insecurities are a fun game in your own mind, aren't they? They're just like playing like tennis. Like, you bat them away and they come back off the wall like later on. It is what it is. But like, a lot of what you've said, I just have disagreements, I guess, with like the framing of rejection as like a terrible bad thing. I'm just really sorry you had a panic attack. Like, I'm not trying to, I guess, minimize that. I sympathize with that or empathize with that, but we can definitely reframe your thinking on this. Maybe do some work on this with like Byron Katie and the other people that we recommend, in terms of like whether or not this is a true story that you hold, or it's just something that you're telling yourself that may not be true if you go out and find data to prove otherwise. And there may be plenty of data out there that proves that you as a 28-year-old can get a number and go date a 22-year-old girl. So go out there and find data. You can come back and tell me I'm completely fucking wrong if you want. I have no problem with that. We'll end the video here. I think I've rambled on for fucking ages. I'll come back with some more questions in the next video. Peace.